Greetings and welcome to another fun Photoshop party. Today's going to be exciting because I'm not talking. Today we have Dennis Hammon going to be talking about NIK or DXO or whatever you want to call it today, the DXO NIK filters. So without further ado, Dennis, it's all yours.
Well, you keep saying DXO, and you asked me to talk about Silver Effects. So, I mean, that's what I kind of concentrated on today was the Silver Effects group. Is
Well,
that
that's part of DXO.
well? It is, but he keeps saying Dick Filters, and that's like a month worth of programs just talking about them. But, okay, well, maybe this will work. Okay, can you see my screen?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Well, this is me. This is who I am, and you can find me if you want to have information about stuff coming up. And Sherry and I do a lot of programs and workshops, and some of you have been on some of them, and we like to have a good time. We are open to helping people out. If Dwight didn't help you, we tell here Dwight, no, we help a lot of people with print competition and answer questions and things. And between Sherry and I, we can lie to the best of them. I just lie. She makes it up. It looks good. I'm just excited about NIK. I'm talking about NIK and NIK 7 today. It's the new NIK. They come out a couple months ago, and they just celebrated their 20th anniversary of NIK. Used to be out of California, then they went to Google. Now DXO was purchased them out of France. And so they give me a code if you need a new, they don't have upgrades available, but they have new ones. So you get 15% off with this code. So do a screen capture if you're looking for upgrades in NIK, and hopefully we can show you some things today that will make you want to do that. You know, we've been using NIK for, Sherry and I use NIK every day for our everyday work, and it's in our workflow. And as we go along, please, if you have questions or anything, please let us know. And if I can answer it, Sherry can tell you as well. So like I said, it is part of our workflow that we do every day. And we do a lot of landscapes and scenic work as well as portraits. And I use it for a lot of portrait work as well, the Silver Effects part. And this is an image I took recently on a trip. I was doing a wedding in Pennsylvania, and I took a couple extra days and did some tours and some shooting out there. But as I go through there, okay, this is my image of this beach, this wharf type thing. And, I'm just going to talk about Silver Effects. Now, one thing is you can keep 6 on your computer as well as 7. I will tell you this, that if you download 7, it'll take the code out of 6. So if you want to keep 6 on your computer, you need to find your code for 6 as well. But the reason why I kept on because it took out, they did not do the perspective on the new 7 and keep it going there. So as I open up into Silver Effects, boy, I opened up the wrong one. We'll just start with this one. Doesn't matter. This is just whoever wants to talk about this one, right? So let's just go real fast on the left-hand side and talk about Silver Effects 7. Silver Effects has, if you can look on the left side, they have a lot of things you can do. They're all presets. And the amazing thing about presets is we can go through without trying to customize anything, and we can go through all these images here, and they're all presets. Now, if you notice, if you look, okay, if I take a preset and look at on the left-hand side versus the right-hand side, every time I do a change, it changes the whole parameters of everything on the right-hand side, all the levels, the layers, and everything else. And so it will change everything. So every time you change anything, it's going to ask you if you want to reset that up there. Now, one thing is like this girl here, when we did photograph her, I photographed her in color, and then I thought she needed to be in black and white. Now, one thing about black and white, one thing that we do frequently is that we go into toning, and we can come down and we can tone our images different colors, so they're not stroke black and white. Unless that used to use a lot of darker room, we used to do a lot of toning. We don't have the smell, our fingertips aren't stained, and this is amazing. So we can come over and do a lot of things. But I put this in here for the vignette that I wanted to show, because you can do vignettes. I see so many image competitions. Dwight and I judge a lot, and we see a lot of people who do the real hard the real hard, day. See all these different kind of vignettes. So you can add a nice vignette or do it in Photoshop or do it here and add a nice vignette and work there in this image types, whatever you want to do to make it work there for you. Okay, any questions? Okay. You guys are a quiet group. Sorry, Jason, we didn't find this for you last year when you were up in Yellowstone. Okay, I'm going to stick this guy back up here. Okay, so this is one that, like I said, I did there in Pennsylvania when I was out doing a wedding. And yes, I do weddings, not by choice. A lot of times they just happen to show up and I have to do them. Old friends and people want me to do them. So as I grab this image here and work into NIK, and we're going to go back to 7. I already worked. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. My bad. There's somebody there. One thing about NIK, and you will find out that once you get on it, that you'll have an upgrade about every other day. And so everything's been upgraded today. So let's go back on some of these things on the right, left-hand side there, because you can go into the different filters, landscape. And one thing is you can do is you can get, I click on, you can get presets. Now you can import presets or
Dennis, we're not seeing your mix.
Okay, let's go back. Okay. Well, I don't know why. Thank you for telling me. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Wonders of technology, because I could see it on my sharing screen, which was weird. So one thing I'll go back here is one thing that we need to do is that you can purchase, you can save a preset once you design something that's your own preset. You can import somebody else's if you want to do some presets, and then you can export all your custom presets. So if you want to go online, you can find them, you can buy them, but you can make your own. One thing about it too is that a lot of people don't know about it is if you do a preset that you really like, and can you see that little star on the far left-hand side?
Yes.
Okay, you can click that and that will put it into your favorites. So once you find a preset that you like, you can put it into your favorites and then it will stay there and keep going until you take it out. Now let's go back to the right-hand side. This is something that gets overlooked a lot, is that everybody sees all this thing. You got a loop, you got all this stuff here you can look at. I'm trying to get zoom things up across some of my things across the top. So this is the Ansel Adams thing here. Now let's say you want to know what everything is in the 0. You all know that 0 is total black and 10 is all total white. So let's say you want to go into your imagery and you want to see which one's black. Now it'll give you these little hash marks. Can you see the little hash marks in the total black?
Yes.
Okay, so once we do that, if you say, oh, I want to adjust that, so you can adjust that globally, and once you start adjusting those, it'll adjust everything there and takes those out. You want to keep it click, sorry, Dennis. And let's say you want to go to the 5, and it should tell you which ones are in the different zones of things you're looking at. So you can go back into your zones and see what different parts of your imagery are in those zones areas. And then you can adjust, you see all there I'm on the top one, you can see I can crank back down. And that's in the zone 6. Zone 5. So you can go in and find just certain zones that you want to work on. Now this image has got so many in the same 5, 6, 7 range, but you can adjust your shadows within that range, and you can adjust globally within that whole imagery as you do that. One thing we kind of do there, I know Hutch and others, we used to work with film a lot. So one of the first things you do, you need to get a system of what you want to start looking at. And first of all, you want to decide if there's a film type you want to emulate. And they have some great film types that you can emulate here in film types. And, so you can go back through and it'll actually change it to the film type that you used to like if it's a film type. And this may be enough for you to do without having to go through everything else. The 100 T Max. So once you get into some of these films, you may not have to do anything else. So that is one thing to think about when you're working on these. Like there's a 400 T Max, and look at the grain that's coming out in it, if you like that grainy look. And then you can change the grains per pixel. Once you get that there, if you can see my mouse or cursor here, I'm changing the grains per pixel and changing those out once you get that there. And you can actually work on that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I want to know, I used to use a red filter. So a red filter will come in and change your skies, your water, your thing, or your orange filter, yellow filter. So you can emulate the filters used to use in the old film process when you're doing your film. So in your process out shooting and start working on things, think about your film types, and then you think about your film grain, and then you just start working on some of these other issues that you want to some of these other techniques of things you want to fix up. You want to come up and amplify the whites back up. You can change your blacks to more, and then the soft contrast is small contrast. So you got endless things you can do. Now let's say, Dennis, man, I really like what I did there. I can come down and save my preset and make my own preset that's going to come up on presets over here for Dennis. So then if I start working on these kind of images again, I can hit presets and it's going to go automatically without going through all that stuff. So any questions on any of these? Anybody got questions on any of this?
Doesn't appear
Yes,
so.
I have a question.
Okay,
You were
sure.
doing global changes. Is there any way to make local changes using that?
Yes, let me go back. I don't know why that kicked me out. Yes. Well, I'm going to go to a different one to show you that image here. So, I had a bunch of stuff I was working on earlier here.
What if I just wanted to make the walkway lighter and nothing else? Leave everything like, I would normally be able to choose with it in
Okay, I'll come back to that here. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to do the little walkway. So let's go back into Photoshop or in Photoshop, and you can do this as a standalone or it's Lightroom or in Photoshop. So let's say you want to come in here and you want to do just a walkway darker. And it helps if Dennis hits the right one. So that's where we're at. Okay, so there is some little.
We see Photoshop and not NIK.
Damn it.
You could just share your screen in
I did.
your desktop.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is weird because I see my little header. Okay, so you've got my screen. So I scroll up here in local adjustments. Now there are 2-3 things you can do here. You can come up here and add a control point, and then you can come out and it's going to grab anything in that tonality and change. So you can grab all these little tiny things here, but they're the same ones over here. So say you want to do, but that's going to grab all that because a lot of the tones are the same. Michael, you're going to love this one. This is kind of like your, okay. I'm going to get rid of that control point. Coming to my polygon point. Well, come on, Dennis. It'd be great if you could get it. Okay, I just did a quick grab. I grabbed the rung here so you can get an idea. Okay. I really do know what I'm doing here. There we go. There's nothing worse than trying to do a demo and have
That's what all live demos are about.
You know, I did this 3 times today before I saw you guys. Okay. Okay, I am going to cancel out. Try one more time. And this is very similar to Michael's pen tool that he hates so much. Okay, now I got that whole dock selected. Now I can see, I can bring it down luminance and contrast and bright. Now can you see what I'm doing now just of the dock?
Yes.
So you can select just certain areas with the polygonal, the little dot, you can select them and grab them. So there's just ways of grabbing those, and I can grab.
Is there any way to brush on the effects that you want? Just in the area that you want it?
There are, and I very seldom do that, and I'd have to work on that some more for you. But that one just shows you how you can tone down in certain areas, and you can go there. Okay. Did that help? Did that explain it? Yes, no,
Yes,
maybe?
thank you. No, that was perfect. That's what I wanted to see is how you could
Okay,
do
well, this one's gonna be kind of
locally.
okay, so this is my buddy Jim White. I was doing a workshop in Indiana, and he, you know, it's when you're my friend, you have to be only end up being my models so often. So you know, let's go back in and we retouched Jim, and he's a very great photographer himself. And that was done with one light doing this image. Okay, can you see his black and white picture coming up in the screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so let's say, you know, just like before, you know, you said, can we do some local areas? Let's say I just want to hit this local forehead and it's too bright. And see, I can come in and I'm doing this very carefully here real fast, but you know, say I think his forehead's too bright. And so then I can bring his forehead down. Just, can you see the difference?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So I feel good about that one. Okay. Now we've done a lot of things that, you know, we can come in and we can do the same thing with vignettes, but Jim, I felt like he needed to have a little bit more. No. I'd like to tone him. And there we got different colors of tones that you can work with, and you will find yourself just finding and playing. And if nothing else, just get on here and start toning and playing with this. I think one of the challenges that Dwight and I see as judges when we're out and judging is people will come in and we'll see too much contrast in images, and or we'll see things are too light for image. They'll send those to us. Yeah, that's maybe what they captured, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to send in. Now, the other thing is about NIK is amazing you can do is you have image borders. Now, people, we can start seeing those. And as judges, I see these all the time that people are just grabbing and putting those in there. And then you can make the size. Once you get there, once you get those, when you want, you can grab the size and make the size bigger. You can spread the frame size out, and then you can put the roughness on the edges if you see the roughness where you want to go here. And then so you can pretty well customize your own what you want to do. It can't go any bigger, so I've actually had to go out, expand that, and then copy that, make a bigger matte and border for people. So any questions on Jim here? Dang. Nobody's awake out there, huh?
We're mesmerized.
Sure, you say that now. You know, these are things I can do. You know, I go through do pretty quick. So here's one that I was teaching at Winona, and a friend of mine picked me up, and we went over to we just had this national convention there. Brain fart. Anyway, we had some models set up and doing some stuff. And so this day we've been raining and these magnificent clouds come in. So, I'm trying to show you landscape, I'm trying to show you people and architecture type things. So the same kind of thing happened here when I went there, and Kevin and I, if you don't know Kevin Hudson, he's a crazy dude, kind of hangs out with me a lot. I like it. So, automatically you can see the presets are automatically showing you what you're going to look at. You look at the picture and how it can change your preset. So I like, when I go back up here, I'm going to go back up to, I like the clouds. Let's go, they're exposed. But then it's going to ask you every time, do you really want to do this kind of thing? Would you like to continue? Yes. But now that I've got the cloud, the buildings look a little funky, then I just come back in here and I just adjust the curve a little bit more and bring the building back up in here. So I really like, working with the buildings and getting the clouds and things get back in here. Now we can come back up and we can, once you do all these adjustments, one thing is that you can add more structure to it. You can see more structure into the building. Now the highlights, watch the clouds, how I can adjust the highlights in the clouds so they can go up and down more. And same thing with the buildings, how much darker they go. So once you do your main changes, you need to come back and see. Now I'm amplifying my whites and bringing all the highlights back up again. And then you also need to come back and adjust brightness. So often people come in and I only do one thing and then they think they're done. But anytime you do highlights or shadows or anything, it changes everything. So then you got to come back up here and change that. I say hit the red filter on that and look how it popped those clouds. Okay. Any questions on those guys? Now, technically, I would probably go back into Photoshop. There we go. And probably bring those buildings. I don't know why they keep slipping. So they bring up tension. One thing that gets overlooked frequently is, okay, I've done the job in NIK and I went through and did all this stuff, but I think a lot of times people overlook the finishing touch. So now it's going to come up and it puts it on a separate folder. And so I'm just going to make sure I smash my folders here. And then I go back into NIK, but this isn't going to be into, I'm going to color effects. And one of my favorite folders or filters is total contrast. So I can come back into total contrast. And some of the stuff is really wild and crazy. This is off, but a lot of the first ones I come here, I do the first one and then it adds a more finishing, more pop to it. And then you can certainly adjust your layers and come back down and do your layer and add there. I have a quick action if I wanted to put a border on, a quick border just to test to see what's going to look like. The thing to be for competition. And there would be an image I would probably consider for competition. But those are all presets and things I've made. Questions? Man, I hear, just a second. Is that crickets out there? Okay. I didn't know the Mormon crickets got out down there. Okay.
When you're changing from preset to preset, you can turn off the question box that pops up every time. And so it doesn't come up every single time.
I know.
Yeah.
I'd like to
telling them that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'd like to question mark up because if I hit something accidentally, this is new in 7 and I've never hit a filter by mistake and go, oh dang, what did I do? So it's just a keyword for me to understand what I'm doing and making sure it's right. So good tonalities, would it work? Okay. So Sherry and I were in Yellowstone. Oh, geez, when aren't we, right? If you didn't know, Sherry and I live about 90 miles from Yellowstone Park, and we love going up to Yellowstone. And we're on the road, and then these two guys are on the side of the road having a little tussling. And so I already went through the image and I put a brilliance warmth on it because I like the only thing I want to make sure is that when you start working on an image, you just don't take an image, bring it in from raw, and then start working on it. I always work on my images first. I'll retouch them all. I do all my work on them, do all my editing, because I want to have all those things done before I go into to NIK. So I got these guys here, and I'm just going to crash my filter, my layers here, and go back up into my NIK 7 and go back into Silver Effects. Now these guys, I call them light sucking buffaloes because, you know, they're tough there. And I played with this earlier, and you can see just a little bit with the levels, how you can bring the attention back in to buffaloes. I can adjust all this other part and mask and layer. Even if I brought this guy in, it's just too much if we let it go without seeing the detail. Isn't that one of the problems, Dwight, that we see in judging? We see lack of detail in these kind of things. Mr. Okamoto? Is he even still here?
Yes, yes. Sorry, sorry. I had too many things muted on me. Yes, the first just so important because of the low density, and then by using that filter, bringing out the fur, the texture. The texture I think is important to be seen.
Well, that's it. You know, you come back in and hit fine texture and fine structure. Right? Okay, now look around. Okay, there's, if you see it's so minute, but can you see the texture come back in on that fine texture? Yes, no, maybe. Look at the buffalo, especially on the left-hand side. Watch his fur pop out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then again, you can come in and adjust your lightness and darkness. But the thing of it is watch I can bring the shadows in so hard, and it almost makes them unbelievable. So I try not to, you know, bring them down so far. So the big thing is to make sure we have good detail, and so we can see these guys in the contrast and the range, and then you can bring in the shadows more down here, and if that's what you like to do. But now we got a guy, you can actually see the fur and things, and you can double expose and bring some of this other stuff back if you wanted, if that's what you wanted. But I just love the dust and the smoke and these guys tussling. Damn, we have a great job, don't we? Go out and play with these guys all day. Okay, now this is gonna make this black and white, but what if I just take and put that guy on overlay? You see how it brought up the contrast? We did a black and white. So sometimes if you get a flat image, you can come in, put it on work with your modes. Now there's normal, but if I come back into overlay, and then I can play with my screen mode and my opacity, and you can see how you can change the tonalities of those critters in different scenes just by adjusting into your different modes. Has anybody ever done that before?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just a great way to bring up a texture without changing a lot of things. I heard something. I can't see faces. I got you all turned off. So if anybody's got something, just scream out. Okay. I don't know if I do Jim here. Let's see. So my friend Bill here, we were Sharon and I were doing some model shoots down in Utah. My friend Bill went with us, and I just did this window light portrait with him. And I thought, this is really nice, Bill. He doesn't smile. He does not like to smile. But, you know, I thought the character study of him, again, coming into color effects, then it would make a great character study just with him. Now, see, I got all these presets. Okay, I close it down. All these presets of him that the different filters do different. So you have to choose which one you think is going to work best. Now that's you can make it and then open it up just a little bit more, bring it down. So you got bring it up just a bit more what you want to do if that's the one you want. Personally, I like the first one, and then I can bring this whole thing down just a bit more for him and bring more attention. Now, I know he doesn't like these wrinkles, but we're going to give Bill a lot more structure. And, this is what I'm seeing a lot in competition now, isn't it, Dwight? We're seeing so much structure, and then they're bringing in the blacks and bringing down the whole intensity. So it makes people have a lot of tones. Now, women want to have everything cleaned up on their faces. And then when you're working on competition shots, you need to have people want to have the structure. So I can amplify the whites and bring the background up, or bring the background down more, and him as well. And then the background, the blacks, and then bring blacks down him as well. And then once we get that, remember I said you have to come back up and adjust the brightness, because I still want to be able to see some tonal differences between him and the background. So this is a matter of one of those things where you can go in and create a structured image real fast with just structure. Caution, don't use too much. We see this so much, and Sherry and I see it, that people put stuff on there and Sherry, what do you call it? Too much
Salt.
too much salt. So now we got Mr. Bill. And I probably wouldn't put a white border on him, but now you got to see how fast I can make a character study out of this young man. I like to call him young man, but you can come in and create a lot more with these. And once you find that recipe, you could say that preset, and so I'll say Bill's face. So, this is, you go from that, which is a plain image. I adjusted because of the contrast and the range. It brought down the highlight side when this pops up here. You can see it brought down the highlight side a little bit more on this other side, and created, I thought, a nice character study. Questions?
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
do you suggest doing a 16-bit so to avoid a lot of that banding?
Do you see banding there?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking because a lot of the adjustments when you play with your levels, especially in the background, but 16-bit would be your preferred bit level, right?
Yeah, I try to do as high as I can. 16, and then you have to bring it down into Photoshop, but try to do it as high bit as I can, 816, to make it work, because that's one of the challenges I know you and I both see is banding that's in this in skies and in the image. Kind of one of the last ones here. This is, I don't know how many of you here know Jim Shigaris. He's one of the finest landscape or critter photographers. If you want to check out his work, check out his website with all his critters and birds. Chagares, Shigaris Photography. Privilege to have him as a good friend for many, many years. So once again, why is that doing that? Oh, Nick.
It's in sharpen.
Oh, stupid Dennis. See, I start talking. You guys, it's hard when you're starting to talk and talk and talk. And thank you for correcting me.
Missed it by that much.
Oh, that's what. Lisa's number. So once again, Jim, I like Jim's little darker complexion, and I asked him to model for me. And I was doing a workshop, and he said, "Well, I want to bring." His dad was a Greek fisherman. His grandfather was a Greek fisherman, and this was his grandfather's hat, which makes it even more personal when he brought that in. But there again, so I could add a control point, come up here, and because the hat I think is too bright. I have a hard time grabbing it. And then so you just bring the hat down instead of trying to burn things down. And I had to go and do some specialized little things here and bring them down. So see, somebody asked a question earlier about the tonal qualities earlier, and how you can just bring thin. You don't want to bring it totally black, because you want to have some light and definition forms. I got some backlighting coming across to separate him there. So, then we got, he's one of the ones that'd be a key candidate. He would hate me when I tell him this. Of course, we amplifying the whites, you can bring the background up in black, amplifying the whites are black. And then the dramatic brightness, you can see I can make Morney's face and more dramatic. But then the structure is what's really it's almost too much. He does look like almost like a sea captain coming out of the ocean there. So there is actually, he showed me the photo of his dad wearing this hat. And if I had those two together, you would think this is a direct copy of what we just looked at. So what I did today, I went real fast. I tried to show you a lot of different things on architecture, people and landscapes. What else would you like to see? I'll go back here. Man, people actually stayed. What else would you like to see? It's one of those programs, NIK. If I feel like sometimes I don't even know it when they change it and they have upgrades and things, but it's one of those things you just have to jump in there and get in there and start doing and working on. But obviously, somebody's got to have questions on it.
Do you have a waterfall picture available that you could kind of play with in Silver Effects?
Do I have a waterfall? Yeah.
I'm just asking if you have it handy. I know you have a few waterfalls.
Give me a second. Just keep talking and I'll find one here real fast. So why a waterfall in particular?
Because I've got a bunch I need to work on. Yes, there's a selfish reason for it.
That's weird. That is weird. There we go. Waterfalls seem to be one of the things that everybody wants to photograph. Since Michael's the only one who had requests. I know you can't see me thumbing through all these.
We can see it in your eyes.
Yeah. I should find the one with Michael out in the 14 below with no gloves on.
It was cool.
It was cool. It was
More ways than one.
He's not gonna live that down, is he, Mel?
Nope, nor will we.
We will not let him.
That's correct.
Yeah, we do a Sharon and I sponsor get put together a snow coach trip every year into Yellowstone, and last year it was a tad nippy. I'll say January, it was 44 below.
Just a little.
It was a tad nippy. Was you there? You was there, Suzanne?
Yeah, it's cold.
No, it's just damn cold.
The wildlife didn't seem to be bothered that much.
No. Okay. I'm gonna share again. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
It's got a waterfall on it.
Yep.
I love doing waterfalls, especially in black and white. This has got a graduated a variable neutral density filter. I have several 9 and 10x filters that we put on to get this exposure. And it's tough. He's wearing a canyon, it's dark, and you don't need a lot down there, but we're probably talking maybe half a second on some of these. But when I work on my waterfalls, I've never worked on this, and so I'm kind of just, what do you call it, Michael? Just
winging it.
Yeah, winging it. There's another term used the other day. Okay. So this is a black and white of the waterfall. Now, when we could come in and we could play with levels and curves until you get what you want. Now I like, be able to see, I like the blurry. And there's, I'm adding a little more structure. Now the structure is coming in to the rocks, the things as well. It's interesting to see how the brightness just affects all that water coming in and out there. And see, I like the high key look personally, but bring it back with the highlights. See, bringing the highlights back on the snow on the sides. And add a little more structure. The mid-tone ranges need to be fixed. Okay. Okay, then what do you want to see? What do you want to see fixed? The wall. This snow is probably blowing out. Unfortunately. I'm just going to see if it'll change. Because it's like, at what point do you want to get the snow or the waterfall back in?
When you use the oblong or circle or whatever, do you set the feather or?
It has about a 20% feather that goes out away from it. Yeah. So when you blow it out, there's about a 20% feather. See, and you can set it, but you can adjust it. When I say adjust, you can see where it's feathering. And then there are times you can do masking with it, but there's a lot of times I have to go back into Photoshop and then I will actually fine tune it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Now, see, there is harsh, different reality there. In my opinion, one tool can't fix it all. That's too much. Then there's the low key. And see, that's way, way too much for me. And we'd have to bring that back. Come on. See, if you've got too high, you're going to change it, or just go back to a previous one that you did.
Is
And there
that
you
one
are.
that you're using now, the neutral? Is that your actual picture or is that a preset?
That's a yes, it's your natural picture, but then you notice I come over here and adjusted it once I got to it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm pretty confident with my exposures. Usually on there, so see, I can come in and darken them down on the levels and slides. That neutral is when it comes in, and then this is when you start working, or it's got the presets for them. Michael, what else do you want to see? Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So what's the other much? What's the other much?
I was just curious how you work your images in Silver Effects when you're doing snow and waterfalls, or even just waterfalls.
Well, especially when I get the water blurry, you can add more structure, and then you can make a layer and come back in and get the rocks cleaned up. To me, that's a little bit too much, but the big thing is for me is to get the whites, keep them so you can see them. This particular waterfall, I mean, is beautiful. You walk down a little bit more and see the water down here, but this is an overhang. And when I'm doing these kind of shots, I do not want to step on there because I would be swimming. If you've been in this place, some of you have been with me on these trips, and it is kind of scary. It is a little ski wampus on the image, but it is what it is. And from the color with all the green in the water to the black and white. And then remember when I come back in and what do? Do you remember what filter I went and used? Boy, nobody took notes on that, did they?
Total contrast.
Tonal contrast. Very good. Somebody was paying attention.
Are you looking for help from us to help you do it?
No, I'm just seeing if anybody was paying attention. No. Okay, then once I get total contrast and see, I can adjust it more, Michael. See the water's coming more. I mentioned it several times, is why I asked it in the saturation, but see, I go into total contrast, and to me, total contrast just adds that little gloss finish that you would put on a, like if you're doing woodwork. Okay, there's it off, there's it on. Can you see it just how it just pops it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope that helped. Guys, we went through a lot of stuff real fast.
Yeah, that's worth 50 cents.
Send it to Michael for his coffee. You
Long
know,
as he makes change.
pardon?
Long as he makes change.
Ouch. You know, there's just so much to put into this, you know, and I hope I didn't go too fast. I guess I get a little ambitious trying to show too much. And it takes a lot sometimes just to go in and figure these out. But the main thing is when you look at an image to visualize to see if that's where you want to go with black and white. I know a lot of times Dwight and I, in our critiques and when we're doing critiques, I actually tell people, I'll say, maybe investigate the look of making this a black and white instead of just, you know, the way you do it or in color. And sometimes just creating black and white creates a whole different look. It takes away from negative colors that may be in the image. And it just is, it's sometimes just creating that way makes them a stronger image.
Yeah, especially when you're doing the portraits, the headshots, and from starting with color, and you turn into like character studies, you know, high contrast black and whites, and those were really good. Those are good suggestions.
Well, I know there's people who tell me they shoot everything in JPEG and things, and that's fine. I admire them for doing all that. I just think shooting in RAW, work them in color, then transform to black and white makes a better creation for a black and white, in my humble opinion. But that, again, just as me. Kind of brings
changes between version 6 and 7 that make it worth upgrading?
I felt like they added some more filters. They added some more they added like 40 more preferences or preconditioned presets. And so those were, you know, something you could do anywhere. They did take out, like say the perspective, which I kept 6 for, because perspective was kind of cool because you could do some things in there. And then they got a whole different, more suites that you can buy besides just the NIK, the sharpener, and all those other ones. But this is just one section of the filters. When you look at all the filters, there's like 9 filters, and they added another sharpener onto it, Hutch. So for me, it was worth the investment. It's, you know, 50. I bought it without the discount because I bought it when it first came out. And then they offered the discount. Then last week, when they had their 20th anniversary, they had a 20% discount. But even a 15% discount is I mean, that's good savings.
Yeah, you know, I got the suite. It's not that, like it's $90 to upgrade. And they come away. You know, I just wait until some discount pops up in front of my face. But
I just give you 15%.
Hey, Dennis, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's kind of a remedial question. Going back to your comment about you like to shoot in color and then convert it to black and white. If I'm shooting raw and I shoot in camera in monotone or monochromatic,
monochrome.
Yep, it's still capturing all the color data because it's in raw and I can convert it, or no?
Yeah, I shoot everything in RAW and JPEG as well. And I can sometimes, when I'm pre-visualizing, I'm shooting and I'll turn my camera to monochrome so I can say, oh, that's what I want to do. That is, to me, my visual notes. Then when I'm going through my files, that's when I'm thinking about doing black and white later. That's why I do a color, though, because it has all the tonal range. It has a 64 box of Crayolas versus a 16 in the JPEG, if you understand my reference to Crayolas. But so then it has all the tones that you can work on in color, then change it to black and white. Sherry, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, just to answer the question, even when you in your camera change it to monochrome, that's just the preview, the little proxy image that your camera shows you. Your raw file still has all the information.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Michael,
I guess I'll turn off the recording so they can ask questions now.